There is a nation called Cape Verde. You probably could not point to it on a map 3 weeks ago. It is a collection of 10 volcanic islands sitting in the Atlantic Ocean off the west coast of Africa. Its total land area is 4,000 square kilometers. To put that in perspective, that is smaller than the county of Cornwall. Its population is 525,000 people. That is fewer people than live in the city of Bristol. It has one professional football stadium with a capacity of 8,000 seats. And right now, at the 2026 FIFA World Cup in North America, Cape Verde are the most extraordinary story in the history of the tournament. Let me tell you exactly why. Cape Verde had never qualified for a World Cup before this one. 7 attempts across 2 decades of qualification campaigns. 7 failures. The closest they came before 2026 was a heartbreaking qualification playoff defeat that left their football federation wondering if the moment would ever arrive. And then in October 2025, Daylon Livramento scored a goal against Cameroon, and Cape Verde became only the second smallest nation by population ever to qualify for the World Cup. The celebrations in Praia, the capital city, were described by people who were there as the biggest public gathering in the country's history. Not since independence from Portugal in 1975 had the islands felt something like this together. But qualification alone was not the story. The story began on the 15th of June 2026 in Atlanta, Georgia. Cape Verde's first ever match at a World Cup. Their opponents were Spain, the reigning European champions, a team containing some of the most technically gifted players on the planet, who had spent the previous 12 months winning every competitive match they played. Spain, who were expected to win their group comfortably and potentially go deep into the tournament. A team ranked among the genuine contenders for the World Cup itself. Spain hit Cape Verde with 27 shots. 27. And the ball did not go in, not once. The reason it did not go in was a 40-year-old goalkeeper named Vozinha, a man who began his professional career at the age of 25, who spent 15 years playing in the Portuguese lower leagues and the Cape Verdean domestic competition, never once appearing at a major international tournament, who had spent 15 years watching other goalkeepers play at World Cups on television while training every single day in a country with a total professional football infrastructure that most English championship clubs would consider inadequate, who had been told more times than he could count that he was too old, too late, too limited to ever reach the stage he was now standing on. And then in Atlanta he stood in front of 27 Spanish shots and kept every single one out. And when the final whistle blew on a 0-0 draw, Vozinha walked to the side of the pitch and wept. Not with relief, with the weight of 15 years of belief that had just been justified in front of the entire world. Within 48 hours, he went from 50,000 Instagram followers to 15 million. The entire planet had discovered him simultaneously. And in Cape Verde, in a country where almost every family has a member who emigrated to Portugal or the Netherlands or France or the United States, because the islands could not provide enough opportunity to stay, people were crying in the streets watching replays of saves made by a 40-year-old goalkeeper in Atlanta at 3 o'clock in the morning. That is already one of the great stories of any World Cup. But it was only the beginning. In their second match, Cape Verde faced Uruguay, a nation with 2 World Cup titles, a nation with a football culture so deeply embedded in its identity that entire generations of Uruguayan children are taught the names of 1930 and 1950 before they can properly read. Uruguay scored first. Cape Verde equalized. Uruguay scored again. And then, in the second half, Kevin Pina and Helio Vela scored for Cape Verde to make it 2-2. The smallest nation at the tournament had drawn with a 2-time world champion. And the draw confirmed something that the Spain result had suggested, but that nobody was quite ready to believe. This was not a defensive, backs-against-the-wall survival operation. Cape Verde could play. Their third group match against Saudi Arabia finished goalless. 3 draws, 3 points. It was enough to finish second in Group H behind Spain and reach the knockout stage of the World Cup. Cape Verde became the smallest nation by population ever to reach a World Cup knockout round. Smaller than Iceland in 2018. Smaller than any nation that had previously done it. And then came Argentina, the defending world champions. A team built around Lionel Messi, the greatest footballer who ever lived, in what is almost certainly his final World Cup appearance at the age of 38. A team that had been installed as one of the favourites to retain the trophy they won in Qatar in 2022. Against a nation of 525,000 people whose goalkeeper started his professional career at 25 and whose home stadium holds 8,000 people. The match took place on the 3rd of July at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. And what happened over the next 120 minutes will be talked about for as long as football exists. Cape Verde held Argentina level at the end of 90 minutes. They took the match to extra time. They scored twice. At one point in extra time, they led Argentina 3-2. A nation of 525,000 people was leading the defending world champions by a goal in extra time at a World Cup. The football world collectively stopped breathing. Argentina survived. They scored to make it 3-3, and then scored again to win 4-3 in extra time. But the manner of Cape Verde's performance, the tactical organization, the physical commitment, the absolute refusal to accept the narrative that this was supposed to be a comfortable Argentine victory, produced what many journalists and analysts covering the tournament described as one of the greatest matches in World Cup history. So how did this happen? How does a nation of 525,000 people, with a home stadium, holding 8,000 compete at the highest level of international football? The answer has several layers, and understanding them tells you something profound about what football actually is and where it is going. The first layer is the diaspora. Cape Verde has one of the highest emigration rates of any nation on Earth relative to its population. More Cape Verdeans live outside Cape Verde than inside it. The total diaspora community is estimated at over 1 million people, spread primarily across Portugal, the Netherlands, France, Italy, and the United States. And within that diaspora are footballers. Players who were born in Cape Verde or born to Cape Verdean parents and who grew up in European football systems, going through European academies, developing in European leagues. Logan Costa, their best defender, is Paris-born and plays for Villarreal in Spain. Jovane Cabral, one of their attackers, has played in the Portuguese top flight and in England. The Cape Verde squad at this World Cup is one of the most culturally and geographically diverse squads in the entire tournament. Players connecting through a shared identity rather than a shared domestic experience. The second layer is the coaching. Pedro Brito, known as Bubista, built a team around a tactical identity that was specific, coherent, and completely suited to the resources he had available. He did not try to make Cape Verde play like Spain or Brazil. He made them play like the best version of themselves. Compact and disciplined defensively. Quick in transition. Dangerous from set pieces. Impossible to break down through the middle. Every player in the squad understood exactly what they were doing and why. And that collective clarity was visible in every match they played. The third layer is the emotional fuel that no tactical system can manufacture, but that any coach would give anything to have. These players were not representing a football association with a budget and a structure and a development pathway. They were representing their mothers and their grandmothers and their cousins who watched from the islands. They were representing the family members who emigrated to Europe because Cape Verde could not give them enough to stay. They were representing the idea that an island nation smaller than Cornwall, with one football stadium holding 8,000 people, deserved to be taken seriously by the world. That is not motivation you can coach. That is motivation that comes from something much deeper than football. The story of Cape Verde at the 2026 World Cup is not finished yet. They lost to Argentina, but they took the best team in the world to extra time and scored twice against them. Whatever happens next in this tournament, the Blue Sharks have already done something that nobody who loves football will ever forget. They proved that the World Cup still belongs to everyone. That the game has not been completely captured by money and infrastructure, and decades of institutional advantage. That somewhere on 10 volcanic islands in the Atlantic Ocean, there were 23 footballers and a 40-year-old goalkeeper who worked their entire lives for one chance and took it with both hands. And that might be the most important thing football has shown the world in a very long time. If this changed the way you see the 2026 World Cup, hit the like button. It genuinely helps more people find this channel. And if you want the real story behind the moments everyone else misses, subscribe. There is a lot more where this came from.